Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a last minute Boston butt and brisket request. Stay tuned. Is my brisket only because I like preparing brisket before I touch any or beef before I touch any of the pork. So like I said, I'm not gonna do too much to this. All I'm gonna do is I'm going to open it, get it out of the package. So this is the seasoning I'm gonna use. This seasoning I made myself. If you want to see how I made this seasoning, go ahead and check out my other videos. If I can, I'll put a link to the description on the bottom, or I'll put it on top here in the video. But I'm just going to generously coat my brisket with this seasoning. This is a dry rub. So this is another thing that you have to consider whenever you're gonna place your brisket on your rack. I know that this is gonna go to the back because it has a little indentation in the back, and I know that when I put this brisket into my smoker, the heat source is gonna come from this end, which is my right side if I'm looking at it. So what I wanna do is I wanna try to put the thicker part with the fat side down and the thicker part to where your heat source is. Now this goes for whatever. You're gonna do an offset smoker, same thing. Wherever your heat source is coming from, you wanna try to put your brisket with the fat side down. And if the heat source is on this side, you wanna go ahead and put it on this side, the round part of the brisket, so that it takes the brunt of the heat. All right, so now we're coming to our Boston butts or our pulled pork. For this one, it has an extra step. You just don't put the dry rub on it. What you want to do here is you want to get yourself some regular mustard. This is going to act as a it kind of keeps the rub on your Boston butt while it's smoking. It does nothing to do with the flavor, and if you don't like mustard, don't worry. Once it's cooked, you're not going to taste any of the mustard. So what you want to do here is you want to get yourself a bowl, and you want to open up one of your Boston butts here. So the next thing after you get it unpackaged is that you want to apply a layer of mustard on your Boston butt. So once you have the mustard done, then you want to apply a coat of your dry rub. With the fat side down, I know that my rack is going to go in, so the fat side is going to go down. So the next one, I'm just going to open up the other one and repeat the process. So the next step here is I would strongly recommend you get yourself some type of a Bluetooth meat temperature probe. These are real good. You don't have to be coming out every 30-45 minutes wondering if your meat is done or if you've already reached temp. These are really good. This one, I do have a link on the description below. It does come with multiple leads, so I am going to feed these leads down through my damper on top, and then I'm going to stick them into the meats individually. Alright, so I have three pieces of meat here. We have the brisket, we have the two Boston butts, but I am going to use 4 probes. I'm going to stick one in each of them, and then I'm going to leave one on the outside so I can monitor the temperature of the smoker itself. Okay, so since I know my internal temp on the brisket and the pulled pork is going to be about the same, I want to hit about 195, no more than 200 degrees Fahrenheit. It really doesn't matter where I put each one of them as far as having to figure out which lead goes to which cut of meat. But if you do have a different internal meat temperature that you're trying to reach in different ones, you do want to make sure you understand where you put each one. The only one I want to make sure that I know exactly which one it is my 4th lead, which I'm going to put up this way, because this one is going to monitor the inside temperature of my smoker. The reason I do this is for my peace of mind. what this little contraption does, and it's really good, it allows you to alert you whenever your meat reaches a certain temperature. Like in this instance, I'm going to put 195, right? But it also allows you to set individually, it allows you to set on one of the modes is a range. Okay, so that's very important because I can put one lead to monitor the range of the inside temperature of my smoker. So if at any point my smoker falls below a certain temperature range, let's say I keep it at 200 to 250, that's my range. If it falls below 200, that tells me that probably my my breaker tripped and my smoker's not working. So it will alert me on my phone that there's something wrong. That's why you always want to have that backup to monitor the inside temperature of your smoker along with the internal temperature of your meat. So let me go ahead and insert these individually. The plan here is to insert the first rod or the first meat probe into the thickest part of the brisket, but without hitting a fat pocket. So you just kind of stick it in there and you feel around, and once you get it right in the middle, you're good there. I'm gonna bring this next one down here. Same thing here. These Boston butts do have a bone in them, so just make sure that well, at least these do. Just make sure that when you insert these probes, you insert them where you're not hitting the bone. All right, so that's the second one, and then that's the third one. So this last one, I gotta make sure that I remember which one this is. I'm going to put it this way, and I'm going to put it away from everything else. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect my probes, and then we're going to see to make sure that they're reading pretty good. Now, these were in the refrigerator for about 30-45 minutes ago, so my temperature readings right now are 41, 37, and 43. So they're about right. So the next thing is, now I know that this fourth one is going to be my temperature probe that's inside my smoker. So I'm going to go ahead and insert that one. You're going to notice this is going to be a little bit higher. 72, okay? That tells me that it's reading pretty well. This one, I'm going to try to strategically place it somewhere where it's not touching any of the meat, but it's still reading the temperature of my brisket. This is how... let me zoom out a little bit. What I'm doing now is I'm pulling on this and I'm pulling on the lead. So the next thing here would be to try to put it somewhere where it's not going to disturb the brisket, but at the same time you still want that reading. So I'm gonna feed it through here. I'm going to give it a couple of loops, and that will give me a better reading of my internal temp of the smoker itself. If you've noticed, my smoker has taken a beating. The last time we had a hurricane, it knocked it over and it made this weird little dent here, but it's still working. I just have to lift it up a little bit and close it. The other thing was my door also fell off. The bottom hinge fell off. What I did is I put some door hinges here. I do have a video if you want to see that one. If that happens to you, go ahead and look at that video so you can see how I was able to manage that. It's not perfect, but for right now it's working. Okay, so the next step now is the beautiful part. The next step now is just turn on your smoker. You want to hit 220, no more than 230 if you want to do low and slow. Even though this is a last minute cook, I still want to give the meat justice. I don't want to rush it. I don't want to do a fast and furious type of cook. So what you're going to do here is for the first 4 hours to about 5 hours, depends on your brisket, depends on your size, right? You want to add chips until your internal meat temperature hits about 140. Bluetooth meat probe is that you can program it. And what I just did right now is I went and I programmed my numbers 1. Let me bring this down a little bit so you guys can see it a little bit more. I don't know if that's better or worse. I think that's better right there. So my meat probes 1, 2, and 3, I set them at 185. That's the temperature I want for it to alert me, right? So the way I set that up is that it comes preset. It comes preset with all these different ones. You could also add your own preset. by pressing the plus button. That's what I did here. I did the home stretch is mine at 175 to 185. This is the barbecue pit temp, 220 to 300. Brisket high temp is the one that I set most of them. And then I have my smoker temp on the internal, 200 to 275. So I was able to preset all these first three at 185. And I'm waiting for my smoker to reach at least 200. If you notice, these are still, because they're inside the meat, they're still cold. So this last one is the one I'm waiting for it to hit at least 200. Once it hits 200, I'm gonna go ahead and click on press here, and I'm gonna go ahead and say I want to make sure that you remind me or you alert me if the temperature goes below 200 or above 275. Notice what happens if I press it right now. Right now it's at 160, 162. If I press it right now and I set preset, it automatically tells me, hey, wait a minute. You told me to alert you if the temperature goes between 200 and 275. Right now, your temperature is at 163, so it's alerting me. Okay, so one of the things that you guys can go ahead and do during this time, if you wish, this is optional, but I do see that it does help a little bit with the bark formation on the outside, is I do have a spray bottle here that I use. What I try to do here is I try to spritz my brisket. After it hits the 140, I try to spritz my brisket. So what I do is I go ahead and I get some apple cider vinegar. What you want to do here is you want to add a couple. You're not going to use too much. I mean, maybe a couple of ounces. I mean, that's way more than I'm going to use. This is just for demonstration purposes, but my phone and my alarm is going off that it went below the 200. So at this point, what I want to do is I just want to spritz it. And you can do this if you're going to be up during the night, or this is during a day kind of smoke. What you can do is you can continue doing this throughout the whole cook if you wish. The more you do this, the more of a little bark you're going to end up getting. Okay, so we're 10 hours into the cook here, almost 11. I'm going to give you guys a look. It's gonna start ringing right now. You got a nice little bark on that. I got a little bark on that. So I normally don't do this, but for this one, because I do want to speed up a little bit of the process, I want to be able to have this for lunchtime. What I'm gonna do right now is my brisket is hitting 176 right now. I will wrap this in foil. So I can speed up the process just a little bit without doing it too fast. So let me pull this out and show you how I wrap it. So whenever you're gonna wrap a brisket, either to stick it back in there or to let it rest for about the 2 hours afterwards, you want to get a heavy duty foil paper. I do have this on the description below in case you're interested. You do a kind of like a T type of deal, and you just kind of overlay them as much as possible. Alright, so now that you hit your 195, I think this one hit 188, 187, 188. The next step here in the process for the brisket is to put it in a cooler right here, something like this, and let it rest for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. I've left briskets in there sometimes 3 to 4 hours. As long as you have it in a nice insulated cooler, you should be okay. The reason you want to allow for this process to happen is because right now the brisket just came out, and if you try to cut into it as soon as it comes out, it's not gonna be as tender. It's gonna be kind of like falling apart on you. You gotta give it some chance to give it a chance to rest. So the next step here would be stick it in a cooler. If you can, wrap it in a paper towel as added measure, and then let it rest for about 2 hours. All right, we're looking at our Boston butts here. They're starting to get a nice little color to them. We've had them out here for about 13 hours. One of the ways that I'm giving it a little bit more of a bark, you know, promoting the bark, is to add this apple cider vinegar. Just kind of spritz it. Right now, the internal temp of these of the Boston Butt, the one is at about 187. The other one is at about 178, almost 180. Okay, so the moment of truth has arrived. My brisket has been resting for about 2.5 hours. You can sometimes leave them in here up to like 4 hours maybe. It depends on how well insulated you have it. But the next step here in the process is the good part. The slicing, dicing, and of course eating of the brisket. So let's get it out of the paper towel. And there you have your brisket. Okay, so this round part over here is the moist part. This flat part over here would be your point, which is your lean part. What I'm gonna do is this you can tell is kind of jiggly right here, which means this is a fat side. What I'm gonna try to see is look for the grain, where the grain is going. The grain, if you can see, the grain is going this way. So when you want to cut a brisket, you want to cut against the grain, not with the grain. Makes it a little bit smoother. So knowing that it's coming like this, I'm going to cut it the opposite, flip it over, and we'll discover this together. All right, let's see. Then we can do the bend test. Oh, you can see the juices coming out through there. I don't know if the camera can catch that, but yep. You can always do the bend test. This is a lean part of brisket, and it's a decent size and thickness, and it's still bending, wanting to fall apart. Gotta taste it. You start seeing a divide right there. Okay, so when you start seeing this divide right here, you need to separate the top part, and you can kind of see it here. There's a bottom part and the top part. You want to separate those two. If it's soft, you shouldn't have to worry about it. Just kind of go around it. This right here is your moist, which in my opinion, I want more of that moist, but that's what you get when you get these super trim briskets. I'm just gonna leave this like this. These are like the burnt ends. I love me some burnt ends. Now for the moist part. This one does ball on itself a little bit. You just kind of have to look for the fibers. You see these fibers going this way, so I'm just going to cut against the grain as much as possible. But this is usually what you use for chopped brisket. This is your moist part of the brisket. This does fall apart on you like way too easily. So you just try to keep them as close to uniform as possible. There's a thick piece of meat and it's bending on over itself. It means it's pretty moist there. But yeah, let's see what this guy looks like. When we look at this, it's just coming apart. I gotta try this. All right, guys. So this is the way you slice a brisket. You do have to divide and conquer. I'm gonna wait for my pulled porks to come out and wrap them, and then we'll take it from there. And finally, we have our Boston butts. Oh man, look at the bark on those babies. So the last step here for these Boston butts, which I'm gonna do off camera, I am going to pull these babies out. They already hit with the 195 internal temp that I was looking for. So I'm gonna pull them out, and I'm gonna wrap them in foil, like I did with the brisket. Leave it, allow it to rest for a couple of hours. You can leave them if you have a good cooler that's it's gonna be insulated pretty well. What you can do is you can leave them there for a couple of hours. I've left some of these up to like 3 or 4 hours, and they'll still be super hot. But once you're done, you just use a couple of forks to pull them apart, or you can use some meat claws that you can buy, which I do have a link on the description below for them. But other than that, that's how it is, man. You're looking at about 15 hours, 18 hours of smoking these low and slow, and they're good to go. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you guys on the flip side.